Welcome back to the Daf Yomi spaceship. We are on 58b, top of the page, of Zevachim. Zevachim 58b, top of the page. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Zeh siman kol hanital bifnim nitem lechutz, eino noisin lo b'zamach l'shem lifnim. Rabbi Yossi says this is the principle of where sacrificial items are placed on the inner and outer altars. Any sacrificial item that is taken from the altar located inside the sanctuary in order to be placed on the altar outside the sanctuary in the temple courtyard may be placed only on the area of that altar that is near the sanctuary, so that there is no area closer to the inside of the sanctuary. It must therefore be placed on the part of the external altar closest to the entrance to the sanctuary. And any sacrificial item that is taken from the altar outside the sanctuary in the temple courtyard in order to be placed on the altar located inside the sanctuary may be taken only from the area of the external altar that is near the sanctuary, so that there is no area closer to the inside of the sanctuary, meaning from the part of the external altar closest to the entrance to the sanctuary. כל הניתן בפנים נהנת מחוץ מעייניהו אילה משיריים בהד יקסיב בהו אל יסוד מזבח האוהלה אשר פסח אוהל מועד. The Gemara clarifies with regard to the statement concerning any sacrificial item that is taken from the altar located in the sanctuary in order to be placed on the altar outside the sanctuary. What are these items? If we say that there are remaining blood of the sin offerings whose blood is presented on the inner altar, there is no reason for Rabbi Yossi to formulate this principle, as it is explicitly written concerning them. And all the remaining blood of the bull he shall pour out at the base of the altar of the burnt offering, which is at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Leviticus 4:7. This verse describes how the blood of the inner sin offerings that remained after the sprinkling was to be poured out on the base of the west side of the altar, which is the side closest to the entrance to the sanctuary. And furthermore, with regard to the statement about any sacrificial item that is taken from the altar outside the sanctuary in the temple courtyard in order to be placed on the altar located inside the sanctuary, what are these items? If we say these are the coals of the Yom Kippur service, which must be taken from the western side of the altar, it is explicitly written concerning them, and you shall take a coal pan full of coals of fire from off the altar before the Lord. Leviticus 16:12. The expression before the Lord is a reference to the western side of the altar, which is the side closest to the sanctuary. Ela, kol hanitam lifnim nilosim v'chutz, shnei bezichei levoina shel lechem haponim, degamri v'shirayim. The Gemara continues, Rabbi Yossi's statement with regard to any sacrificial item that is taken from the altar located inside the sanctuary in order to be placed on the altar outside the sanctuary is referring to the 2 bowls of frankincense of the showbread. According to Rabbi Yossi, they must be burned on the western side of the altar, as he derives this halacha from the location on the base of the altar where the remaining blood of the inner sin offerings is poured. Rabbi Yossi's next statement, that any sacrificial item that is taken from the altar outside the sanctuary in order to be placed on the altar located inside the sanctuary may be taken only from the area of the external altar that is near the sanctuary, is referring to the coals that are taken from the external altar each and every day and placed on the inner altar in order to burn them for incense. According to Rabbi Yossi, these coals must be taken from the western side of the altar, as we derive this halacha from the location on the altar from where the coals of the Yom Kippur service must be taken. The Gemara discusses Rabbi Yossi's opinion The second arrangement of wood was placed 4 cubits north of the southwest corner of the altar. And what does Rabbi Yossi hold about the placement of the altar in the temple courtyard? If he holds that the entire altar stands in the south side of the temple courtyard, then only the 5 northernmost cubits of the altar are opposite the entrance to the sanctuary. Accordingly, in order for the arrangement of wood to be opposite the entrance to the sanctuary, one is required to move it 27 cubits north of the southwest corner of the altar. The Gemara continues, and even if Rabbi Yossi holds that the level of sanctity of the sanctuary and the entrance hall is the same, so that the arrangement of wood can be opposite the entrance hall, which is 10 cubits wider than the sanctuary, his opinion is still difficult. In order for the arrangement of wood to be opposite the entrance hall, one is required to move it 22 cubits north of the southwest corner of the altar. The Gemara continues, and even if Rabbi Yossi holds that half of the altar was located in the north side of the temple courtyard and half in the south, in order for the arrangement of wood to be opposite the entrance to the sanctuary, one is still required to move it 11 cubits to the north of the southwest corner of the altar. And if one suggests that rather he holds that the sanctity of the sanctuary and the entrance hall is one matter, meaning equal, one is still required to move the arrangement of wood 6 cubits from the southwest corner in order to be opposite the entrance hall. Rather, is it not the Rabbi Yossi's opinion that the arrangement of wood was located 4 cubits from the altar's southwest corner is due to the fact that he holds that the entire altar stands in the north side of the temple courtyard. Accordingly, only 5 southernmost cubits of the altar were opposite the entrance to the sanctuary. And of these 4 cubits from which the arrangement of wood was distanced from the southwest corner of the altar, 1 cubit was the base of the altar, and 1 cubit was the surrounding ledge of the altar. 1 cubit was the place where the corners of the altar were located, and then another cubit was the place of the feet of the priests, meaning space for the priests to walk around the perimeter of the surface of the altar in order to perform the sacrificial rites. The arrangement of wood was located specifically in that location, as if one were to move it farther away from the southwest corner of the altar, it would no longer be opposite the entrance to the sanctuary. This proves that according to Rabbi Yossi, the entire altar was located in the northern side of the temple courtyard, as stated by Rabbi Yochanan. Amar Rava Rava Hamani Rabbi Yehudi Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mizbeach B'Mutzev Yom V'Emtzah Hazoeh 32 Amos היו לו 10 אמות כנגד פסחו של היכל, 11 אמות מכאן ו11 אמות מכאן נמצא מזבח בכוון כנגד היכל. The Gemara challenges this proof by suggesting an alternative explanation of the Mishnah in Tamid. Rav Ada bar Rava said, in accordance with whose opinion is this Mishnah, is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, as it is taught in a Braita. Rabbi Yehuda says the altar was centered and standing precisely in the middle of the temple courtyard, and it was 32 cubits wide. 10 cubits were opposite the entrance to the sanctuary, 11 cubits were to this side of the entrance of the sanctuary, and 11 cubits were to that side of the entrance of the sanctuary. It turns out that the length of the altar was aligned opposite the width of the sanctuary, which itself was 32 cubits wide. Sof, Rabbi Yehuda Chad Sarei Bayi Lemesei, the Gemara asks, alternately, according to Rabbi Yehuda, one is still required to move the arrangement of wood 11 cubits in the southwest corner in order for it to be opposite the entrance to the sanctuary. And even if he holds the sanctity of the sanctuary and the entrance hall is one matter, meaning equal, one is still required to move the arrangement of wood 6 cubits in order to be opposite the entrance hall. Therefore, the Mishnah, which states that the arrangement of wood is 4 cubits north of the southwest corner, cannot be in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Misav retani arba amos, v'had yamos ama had yisod, v'ama yisod, arba amos, bar me'ama yisod, v'ama yisod. The Gemara responds, do you hold that these 4 cubits include the cubit of the base of the altar and the cubit of the surrounding ledge of the altar? Actually, the 4 cubits are aside from the cubit of the base of the altar and the cubit of the surrounding ledge of the altar. Accordingly, the arrangement of wood is actually a total of 6 cubits from the southwest corner of the altar, and the Mishnah can be in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara asks, why Rav Ada bar Ahava interpreted the Mishnah to be in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda? Let him interpret it to be in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, and explain that the altar is located in the center of the temple courtyard. The Gemara explains Rav Ada bar Ahava interpreted the Mishnah to be in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because we heard that Rabbi Yehuda explicitly said that the altar was positioned in the center of the temple courtyard, whereas we did not hear that Rabbi Yossi maintained such an opinion. Rav Sherevia Omar Ha Mani Rabbi Yossi Glili Tanya Rabbi Yossi Glili Omer Mitoch Shenem V'natanta et Akiyo Ben Ohel Moed V'Gomel V'et. And Rav Sherevia said, in accordance with whose opinion is this Mishnah in Tamid, which holds that the entire altar was located in the northern part of the temple courtyard, it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, as it is taught in the Braita. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, since it is stated, and you shall set the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar, Exodus 40 verse 7, and another verse states, and